up, y'all? Welcome back. We have so much fun stuff to play with today. I just got the entire collection, the new collection from Florasis in the mail. So Florasis is a Chinese brand that makes all of this makeup that is just so beautifully embossed, basically. I think that a lot of people recognize it when they see it more so than hearing the brand name. And they just came out with this Nomadic Glam collection, and they sent me everything, and also this beautiful little crossbody and an air freshener. And I mean, it's just, they really know how to present things, right? And that was the nature of my initial review of the brand. I just reviewed them for the first time, I think last month. And I was like, is it all smoke and mirrors? Is it all just pretty packaging and pretty embossing, or is there actual merit to the quality of the formulas? And I found it to be pretty good. You know, I was like impressed with the appearance of the formulas, and I liked the mattes a little bit better than kind of the wear time on the shimmers and things like that. But also I've kind of reframed my understanding of these formulas since then in the context of Asian beauty, and that things are just softer in general, color-wise and impact-wise and shimmer-wise. And so that does adjust my expectations a little bit. I mean, I could use a primer or something like that for some of these shimmers to make them last all day. But bottom line, I'm excited to share this with y'all today. So I have here the new Into the Wild palette. And so it has 4 mattes in there, and then 3 shimmers that are like, these are a little bit more spangly, I think, and this one's more kind of pearlescent. This is not a first impression. I've had a chance to play with these already, and you can see I've already, you know, stuck my fingers in some of the embossings there. But there are also 2 powders that they sent. One is kind of complexion colored for me, and then the other one is more of like a blotting powder. So this one is the Yurong Airbrush Tinted Press Powder, and that's in the shade Z25 Lotus. And then this is the Flawless Jade Breathable Press Powder in O2 Voile, or Voile. Either way, I'm probably going to be using the tinted one more. And then they also sent this beautiful little cream blush. This is in Morning Rays. And finally, one of these fantastic little Blooming Rouge Ultra Smooth Satin Liquid Lipstick. And this is in the shade Sacred Warmth. And honestly, spoiler, this is more of a sophisticated formula than a lot of the like lip souffles that we have on the American market in my experience. And it's a really pretty color. So yeah, I think that all that's left to do now is to just show y'all how all of this goes together, and I will give you my final thoughts at the end. Let's go ahead and jump in. The entire face of makeup here is a little bit in the like velvet finish territory, so I'm going in with a dewy primer. The first time that I tried this face of makeup, I used the YSL blurring primer, and it was fine, but I was like, I can't see myself the whole day, my skin necessarily loving all these powder products with also like a blurring primer underneath. So I'm also wearing the Prequel SPF, and I really like it. I am not going to apply it on camera because Lord knows I never put on enough SPF for the SPF police. There is just like an SPF police that shows up in everyone's comments when they actually put sunscreen on. If you don't like dump half the bottle on your face and spend 10 minutes rubbing it in, it's like, I'm just not here for the scrutiny. So I put it on before I got on camera, but a lot of people have been waiting for my review on it, and I just wanted to say I really like it. It has kind of a soft luminosity that kind of reminds me a little bit of like a K-Beauty primer. It is like a really faint micro pearlescence that's a little bit peachy pink, and I think that it is quite lovely. It has a little bit of grip to it, and I'm not surprised that I'm impressed by it because I really like everything from Prequel that I've tried. So I just used the Fenty Blur and Smooth Tint Stick. This is the Eavesdrop stick, and it is in the shade 2, just like I wore in the regular Eavesdrop, and it's just one of my favorite foundation products right now. I did order 2 concealers today. Yeah, I ordered a bunch of stuff today. I basically was uploading my tepid takes, and I was like, all right, Khaki, like don't let these things slip your mind, all the things that you were excited about buying, because there are some actually like things that I'm sincerely excited about. Like I'm back excited about makeup releases right now, excited about artistry, excited about new formulas. And so I was like, just buy them while you're thinking about it. It's been a long time since I've, I don't know, like bought a new release because I was excited about it. It's mostly been me kind of dipping back into like older like luxury brands and stuff on my channel lately. So I bought the new Tarte concealer. I bought the new Fenty concealer. I bought that Prada green lip balm. It just like popped up in like the new releases on Sephora, and I could not help myself. The curiosity just got the best of me. And then what else? Oh, I bought the new About Face foundation yesterday. It's like $22. I was like, yeah, duh. Like, that's an easy one. And I got the new Sephora collection contour, and I got the Armani, like, it's like a colored shimmer go, and I got it in like the bright coral color. I was like, I don't know. It looks like it might be an interesting hybrid product where it's like, is it a blush? Is it a highlighter? Is it a mix-in of some persuasion? I just think it's exciting looking, and I wanted to try it. It was something I actually talked about on my Tepid Takes like at least 2 videos ago. So it had taken a long time to kind of come to the market, I guess. So when I saw it, I was just like, yoink. I'm using the Kosas concealer, back on my Kosas habit, I guess. It's just really, really good. It's just an easy, seamless thing, but I am excited to try the new concealers. I'm really excited to try that Fenty. Like, I really hope that it works for me because I have been so impressed by this. So now that we have my complexion on, we can start in with some of the Florasis. So I have the Peony Dream Cream Blush. This is what I'm gonna start with because I feel like the eyeshadow gets kind of tedious like in any video. And so I'm like, let's just go ahead and get something on, right? So it's this beautiful, they call it a cream, and it's like the Item Beauty that was, I don't know if y'all remember that, but like they call it a cream, but it's very much like a loose interpretation of a cream because it's just like a powder finish. It's got just the slightest amount of creaminess to it, but if you told me that was a powder blush, I'd believe you, kind of thing. And it's got a little tiny bit of radiant luminosity to it. You have to look really, really close though. It's by no means sparkly, but it does have kind of a, I don't know, a mineralization to it. So I had the instinct to use a lot of it the first time that I tried it. Don't do that. This is quite pigmented. So I'm going to touch my sponge in there. The embossing doesn't like go away right away. That's how you can tell it's not like super creamy. And I'm just going to, see, it's quite pigmented and it's beautiful. I just think it's so pretty. I wonder if a sponge is like even the right way to do it. Like, I managed to make it work before, but it does lay down a lot of product, as you can see. So I wonder if maybe the 112 brush might be better. From BK, where is she? So this is the 112. Yeah, that works great actually, because it disperses the product better than the sponge does because it's quite pigmented. And it is such like it is such a hybrid powder product that it's not gonna gum my brush up at all. And this brush does work really well for even like liquidy creams. It's a very pretty color too. Just super easy to wear. And this is kind of, you know, it's the Nomadic Glam. I feel like it is trying to channel at least a little bit of like a sun-chapped kind of cheek, and y'all know I'm super into that. I actually had some questions, and I get them all the time actually, about whether or not I'm going to be doing a Fjords Fest, and yes, I am going to do a Fjords Fest. Normally it's like in November. I definitely didn't do it in November, and that's because I've been waiting to reveal the new collection from Finding Ferdinand in order to include that. That's beautiful, and I'm really glad I did the dewy primer. Highly recommend using a brush like this over a sponge to apply it. That was so much easier than the first time I did it. So let's start in with the eyeshadow palette here. This is all, I mean, for as many products as there are here, this is actually gonna go pretty quickly because I feel like they put together such a like synergistic capsule that it all just feels really intuitive once you get into it. Actually, the first thing I'm gonna do before I do that, I am gonna go in with the tinted powder underneath my eyes. It's lovely. I'm putting it on with the Refer N15, and I just like that, you know, even though it has a tint to it, it's also really blurring and it doesn't add a ton of coverage. It kind of reminds me of the Kosas, to be honest. I don't know, it's not quite as undetectable as the Kosas. Like, there is a little bit more blur to it, but I would definitely not call it like an oil control powder or an HD powder. It's something that you can use just to barely knock the shine off, and that's what I like in a powder. Okay, so like I said, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shades in here, and I'm gonna use all of them. Yeah, I mean, typically I am like, oh, you know, don't be that person who can't back down from a challenge. If there's a blue in there, that doesn't mean you have to use it, kind of thing. But in this case, I'm like, I just kind of want to achieve the whole vibe that they're going for. And so that is what I'm going to do today. And I've already done this, like I said, so I have a little bit of an idea of the placement and everything that I want to do. So I'm going to start with the beige right here. And I'm just going to use that as like my base. Again, I could do a primer. I just am not really an eye primer girly. I just like to see how things work on their own. And what I get from this is actually that same thing I was talking about, where it's like everything is so soft. It's so soft and blendable. Like, that doesn't mean it's weak on pigmentation, but it's very beginner friendly because everything blends together so effortlessly, and just, I mean, look at how just soft that blend is. There's something to be said for that. And this is, I believe, kind of like a capsule collection that only has like one eyeshadow palette in it, but a lot of times they will put out multiple colorways in these so that there are options for different skin tones, but I think this one is kind of meant to be universal in whatever capacity that's even ever true. But that's just that transition color. Just laying that down. I'm gonna get a little under my eyes also. And it's just a very pretty, easy to use, light beige. I am going to go in with the red here, basically. It's this kind of rusty terracotta color. And I'm gonna use that kind of all in this corner right here. That was Tom texting me to tell me that they finally snagged Victoria Beckham cinnamon. So yeah, it's gonna be kind of a little more of a placement oriented application today. I'm still gonna go for that shape that I usually do, where I try to build an illusion that my outer corner is further out than it is so that my eyes look further apart. But like, in order to use all of these colors, they need to be separate from each other to some extent, especially that kind of greenish turquoise, because if you layer that on top of a red, you're just gonna get kind of mud. I do love though that like as you build this is not an ABH kind of formula where it's like you put it on, it's like, oh God, what am I gonna do now? Or like, you know, Natasha Denona or something. Like, I dipped back into the Rose Metals palette yesterday and I was just like, God, this is just not what I'm used to anymore. I'm so used to luxury formulas and even, you know, things like this where everything is just so much softer. And that Anastasia palette was like, it was just astounding. I was like, that's so much pigment. I'm gonna go in with this kind of yellow right here. This is when stuff's, I mean, it's already getting interesting, right? But this is very decidedly yellow. You know, it's not necessarily like super skin native for me. And so like when I put it underneath my eyes, you'll definitely notice. But like I said, I love the mattes. I think that their mattes are really, really good. They do wear a long time on me and they apply so beautifully. Like, I can do it so mindlessly. It's not even so much that I think the shimmers are difficult. It's just that they are so fine. They don't stick super well. So like, they go on really beautifully, but you can kind of feel it when you're putting them on. You're just like, this doesn't feel like it's clinging, but they are also just really incredible in their own right. It's about embracing that kind of like Asian beauty softness. And then I'm going to go in with the last matte here, this beautiful deep brown, and get a little drama on the outer corners of my eyeballs here. And they build on each other really nicely. I think I discovered that as well in the last Florasis review. I don't know, I feel like sometimes like a Natasha Denona shadow doesn't want to build on itself very well. I'm sorry, I pick on her formula a lot, but it's just probably my least favorite. I'm using the same brush for everything here. And that's because these are all the ones that are really similar to each other. I feel like if these all blend together, that's fine. It's when I get into the sparkles where it's like I want them to be pretty distinct. So I'm using a little bit more of the first beige color to sort of blend that out without applying too much more, and just blur, blur, blur. And it does, they just blend so, look at how seamless that blend is. And it was so easy. Like, there's no patchiness. So I will now commence with the shimmers. So this fiery one right here is just off the charts. Like, that's just one of my favorite kind of colors to wear. I think that there was a similar one in the first one that I tried from Florasis, and I'm gonna take that kind of even above the crease here. Give a little bit of a gradient, a little glimmer there. So pretty. Super, super easy to use. And I feel like, I don't know, you can kind of like push it in and get a little more grip out of it, but they are just very, very like soft and finely milled. But look at that color, goodness. I'm gonna take a little bit of it and put it also underneath my eyes because I feel like it just looks really good. I mean, obviously anything that's like this coppery color would look good on like light eyes, but it also really flatters brown eyes. Like, it brings the gold out of my eyes. Now is like the curveball, right? Because we have this kind of sparkly turquoise. I'm gonna warn you, I'm gonna put it kind of on this outer third right here, and it's just gonna make my eyes look smaller. That's what colors like this do. That's color theory for you. It's going to make something look like it's receding because it's a cooler tone. Even though it's a green blue, it's still a cooler tone compared to everything else that's around it. And so there are so many ways that you can incorporate this into a look. You don't have to do it the way that I'm doing it, but the way that I am doing it, like, it is probably the most intuitive way for me to do it so that you can actually see it on my eyes, because I don't have a ton of like lid real estate, but also it does immediately shrink my eyes up. Isn't that interesting? Do a little bit of it down here. But it's got enough color impact that it's distinct on its own, even though it is, you know, layered on top of some colors that are like complementary to it, which would typically, like I said, make mud. So the sparkle in and of itself does hold its own, but it's like, it makes me want to add so much more of the deep brown, like on the outer corner. I'm gonna use this rougher brush to do it so it picks up some more product, because it's like, I feel like it immediately shrinks my eyes so much. And that's not the fault of the product, that's just the way color theory works. There we go, see? And it just makes me want to make more drama. Drama, drama, drama. And then we have this beautiful kind of pearl shade right here, and it's not sparkly really, it is just a really nice like satin, and I'm gonna use that on the inner corner, and it's just a fantastic inner corner pop. I mean, it's gonna show up on everybody. It's not silver, but it is a pure pearl, perfectly neutral. I'll put that kind of up here too. This is the most look I've done in an eye look in a really long time. Like, it feels good to flex the muscles sometimes. Let's do a little bit of bronzer. I'm gonna use the, well, I hesitate to call it a bronzer. I do think that it is a bronzer, but I also really start using it like it's just an enhancing powder. I do kind of get the vision the more that I use it, but this is the Hermes Healthy Glow Mineral Powder. It is such like a fair bronzer color that has a lot of warmth to it that it works really well with this to just put life into my skin without completely like overwhelming me with bronzer, like making my skin tone look different. It really, really works with my undertones and makes everything just a little bit more golden. But you see how I start kind of like putting it everywhere? I'm just like painting intuitively with it, because it is a really easy product to, I don't know, once you get it on, you sort of understand what it's supposed to do. It's a very, very cool product. I'm gonna do a little bit of contour with my Charlotte Tilbury contour, mainly because I feel like the blush is very pronounced. And so it's like I need to then kind of bring everything else up. I'm using the A507 from BK. But yeah, I need to like bring everything else up in terms of detail and contrast so that it looks believable. It's the same thing you would do in a painting. It's like you can decide not to have a super high level of detail, but everything has to be at the same level of detail in order for like the eye to believe it. You know, something might not look quite right in a makeup look, and it's just because you used maybe a new product or something, and something ended up higher contrast than usual, and you have to kind of like pull the contrast up in the rest of the look so that it's not just like focusing on that one thing. But I do like that with this foundation and with that blush and everything, like even though this is an eye look for sure, you can still see my freckles and it still looks fresh. So it doesn't feel super made up, it just feels kind of like earth tones. I'm going to use Victoria Beckham Cinnamon. I think it's a very appropriate eyeliner for this look. And then I'm going to use the Thrive Brown Mascara. I mean, I'm in brown mascara right now anyway, but this is such a brown mascara moment. And I'm gonna use my Kosas Soft Brown and Kosas Clear Brow Gels. Then we will be back to talk about this lip. That ate the canary face because I really love the way that this looks. Like, I'm stoked on it. I think that these colors specifically, they really lean into this whole thing that I've been doing lately where I'm kind of trying to just soften everything. Like I said, pulling back to brown mascara, everything being a little lower contrast, and it just makes something like this have so much more impact. And even though this doesn't specifically have a match between the blush color and a color in the eyeshadow palette, it is so synergistic. Like, I feel like it goes together together so well, especially with the Hermes powder, because the Hermes powder kind of goldened up my face a little bit. I also wanted to mention that when I went to DC last weekend to visit Steph and Natalie, Steph had just gotten back from sabbatical where she traveled all over the place. Like she went to Europe, she went to Asia, and in Asia, she was able to buy Shiseido eyelash curlers for next to nothing. And so she's like, I already have 4 of them, but I bought another one because it was just so cheap I couldn't resist, and so she gave it to me. And I have to say, y'all, I know this is blasphemous, but I like it better than the Surratt one. I really do. It's so precise. It's like so thin, and so everything about it feels so scalpel precise. It's fantastic. I'm not gonna like throw out my Surratt one. I like it a lot. It's very effective, but this is so easy to get exactly the detail that you want. I used to not even curl my eyelashes, and now I'm like obsessing over an eyelash curler. But look at the eye look now. I love it. I love the finishes. I really do. But so wearable at the same time, like so wearable. So we have Sacred Warmth here in the Blooming Rouge Ultra Smooth Satin Liquid Lipstick. I'm gonna show y'all 2 ways that I wear this. So it's like, you can just start with a little bit and you kind of spread it out. And I feel like this is the very like Asian beauty aesthetic of just not doing the full lip, just having it almost look bitten. And that is a beautiful way to wear this formula, but you can build it all the way up. So this color, fantastic. I feel like it goes really well with the blush shade, and this is so comfortable. It's so much more comfortable and so much less weird than some of, like I said, the souffle formulas. Like the Rare Beauty one is the one that comes to mind, where it's like, you put it on and it's like, yes, this is a formula where I understand where they were going with it, but the colors are not quite right, and it never feels like it's really one with your lips, and so it feels like it's just never gonna wear for very long. This feels, it grips. Like it feels like it has a little tiny bit of dry down, but like look at how soft and pretty that is, because I do have a tendency with the low contrastness of my complexion against my hair and everything like that, and also the fact that I do have small eyes. If I wear a full saturation lip, especially if it's not glossy, a lot of times it will completely steal the show. It'll totally overwhelm all the effort that I put into the rest of my face immediately, no matter how much work I did. The fact that like this doesn't, but it's still a lip color, like it's just something that I didn't think that I could wear. So then, as much as I like this, I wanna show you if it's like all built up, like full saturation, what it looks like. Because it's a very comfortable formula, super nourishing. And it's not like a matte liquid lipstick where it's like trying to grab and gather and everything. Like it has a really great kind of liquid lip balm like bounce to it. So that's the full saturation of it all. Ew, that's so pretty. Gosh, that's pretty. So I will blot a little bit, soften the edges. I just kind of feel like that's what this formula wants to do. And I'm gonna give it a spritz with my MAC Fix Plus Magic Radiance. Just smooth everything out. That's how I prefer my skin to look. And it'd also give the eyeshadow hopefully a little more staying power, maybe. Let's talk prices real quick on this, and then I will give you all my final thoughts. Florasis is not inexpensive. Obviously, these are luxury looking products, and some of their packaging is completely over the top. If you watched my last video, you saw that lipstick that has like charms all over it and stuff. Like these are definitely collector's items in some cases, specifically because of the components, but they're also not as crazy expensive as they could be. Like they could be really like high-end luxury prices, and they're not. They're kind of just prestige priced. The palette, the Into the Wild palette, is $55. The airbrush tinted powder is $52. So, I mean, that is a luxury price for a powder, definitely. I really like the powder, but that is up there. The Peony blush is $30. And the Flawless Jade Breathable Pressed Powder is $46. And then the lip is $30. I wonder if you can just buy the whole set. Is that possible? Yes, you can get the entire kit. It's almost half off. You can get like the bag and everything for $245. So it saves $212. It's wild. That's really cool. They also sent me a full size of the cleansing oil because I had gotten the little sachets of the cleansing oil, and I was like, is this the only way that this comes? Y'all, I will put a picture in of it because you have the bottle, and then separately there's this little box that comes with it that has these 2 flowers. They look like gardenias, and it actually smells good, and it like snaps onto the pump. Like you can't use it while it's on there, but it's like for display purposes, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And then the pump straw that's, you know, pulling it out of the bottle is made to look like this beautiful branch with like a bloom coming off of it. It's just like everything has been so considered. So either way, I wanted to thank them for sending me this stuff because it's just such a cool opportunity to be able to try their products. And also that cleansing oil is fantastic. Like it's very, very good, and I like it a lot. So I've been traveling with the sachets, and I've been using the full size at home. So I love it. Yeah, so let's talk final thoughts here on this. First of all, I kind of want to say just like the overall look, I really feel like what you achieve with this is this boho fantasy. I feel like that's what it is, and it's still so wearable. Like I could have skipped the blue and it would have been very similar, but also an exquisite version of like a lot of the different eye looks that I typically do. And it would be very wearable on the day-to-day, but still quite striking in person. You know, someone would be like, wow, I really like your makeup. Like it just has a sparkle to it that's very stunning. So I really love the color concept, how it all comes together, the textures and stuff, how it's still soft. But the fact that they've put together a capsule that when you do put it all on at once, I feel like it really sells the fantasy. You know, I feel like what they set out to do, they did. Now, individually, the products, I think that the blush is lovely. Like I would love to have several shades in this blush because it's just really easy to use, and I love the finish on it. And I love being able to offer something that's a cream blush on my channel that a lot of different skin types can use, because not everybody wants a cream blush that's going to just go dewy, dewy, dewy and not be able to build. Y'all saw this builds, and I really do recommend using a brush like the 112 from BK to apply something like this. All that to say, yeah, I totally love this formula. I think that this is really gorgeous, and especially if you have combo skin, look at the finish that you're able to get. I mean, granted, I did put on the MAC Fix Plus Magic Radiance, but still, it's just a really lovely lit from within, even though it's not texturally dewy, and I love that. Even though she's pricey, I will say that's pricey for a powder. I feel like a lot of work, technology, thought, effort goes into their powders. They have a lot of powders, and they're really finessed, and there's just something about this particular powder. Again, this is the Yurong I'm trying to read it upside down. Yurong Airbrush Tinted Press Powder. It just has something to it that's very similar, like I said, to the Kosas. It just kind of knocks the shine off and adds a little bit of coverage with the pigment, but it's not overly mattifying. It's not an oil control powder. It's very elegant. Like it's just a really elegant formula to use, and I think that it feels very luxurious. I didn't get a chance to use the blotting powder. I will say this is not something that I typically go for. I feel like this is more of an oil control kind of powder, so that's why I didn't use that. The palette itself, I feel like this is the fantasy, right? Like, yes, I feel like it all comes together with the blush and the lip and everything, but this is if you want to achieve the Nomad Glam of it all. Like, I really feel like this color story does something very earthy and beautiful at the same time as being a statement and having really beautiful textures to it. So the look that you're able to achieve with it, and I honestly think that like pretty much anything that you did with these shades would be pretty, you know? Like there's just something about it that's very user-friendly, even though it has that turquoise in there and that's a little bit contrasty against the reds, but like I still feel like it's incredibly beginner friendly. In fact, my friend was like, hey, you know, what do you recommend for my little girl who's, you know, about to turn 13 or something and she's just getting into makeup? And I was like, honestly, Asian Beauty, because it's lower pigment, and so there's just something about it that makes it both more user-friendly and also just not super severe on a kid, you know, who wants to play with makeup but doesn't want to look like they've got a full bead on every day, you know? It's like something that they can kind of play in, and I feel like these textures really give that, even though, yes, I'm able to get a glam look out of it. It is Nomadic Glam. The whole nature of Asian Beauty and the softness of the textures and the softness of the pigments really comes through in this, and I feel like this is a color story where it really shines. So I love how it looks on my eyes. I love it. It's like I can't stop looking at my actual like irises because the brown looks so pretty with that kind of copper color on it. So I feel like this is just really flattering on my skin tone. And then the lip, y'all, you know you don't catch me in like a matte lip ever, right? Or like a full saturation lip, but this is honestly, it's like the quintessence of what you would hope to expect when you're thinking of like an Asian beauty lip product that's gonna give you that like soft bitten kind of like thing that you just don't get in the American markets very much. We are usually talking about like a soft matte, it's like a lipstick or something like that, but we're never talking about that just extraordinarily blended, like almost one with your lips kind of thing, where it's like as it wears in, it just looks more and more sort of flushed, more than you're wearing like a lip product. And not only does this formula do that, and it is really, really comfortable, and you know I would tell you if it wasn't, because I am like allergic to a really drying lip, but also it's just this color. This color is really easy for me to wear. And I feel like what I always talk about with a makeup look is not so much that like each individual product has like the color of my dreams, you know, like, oh my gosh, this is the color I've been looking for forever, or that it has to be like super skin native, like you need to obey your undertones for every single makeup item that you wear or else it's gonna look crazy. Absolutely not. The point is actually that it goes together. That's the main thing, is that like what you've put on all parts of your face have synergy together so that it looks like a complete thought. Otherwise, things will look a little bit wild. Like that's the only reason that things tend to look strange, is not because like a color is horrible on you. It's just because it's not going with everything else. And this set, the capsule, I feel like makes everything go together so well that like you can't go wrong. It's just like a very easy kit essentially to like achieve this kind of vibe. So I'm a huge fan of this. Like I'm a really big fan. Like I think I'm gonna keep the eyeshadow palette out, even if I don't end up dipping back into the turquoise all that often. I mean, God, I could do a look just with the turquoise, but like these textures are more the mood I'm in right now in terms of the shimmers that I want to wear, if I can, you know, get some wear time out of them. I'm not feeling super, super made up. That's the whole point. It's just like it's wearable glam. So I hope that this was fun for y'all to at least just watch it happen, and for me to put on something that's not sparkly pink all over my eyes for once in my life. So if you did enjoy this, please do give it a thumbs up. I'll link everything down below. If you're new here and you are not yet subscribed, it's word on the streets, y'all. It's cool people subscribe. You should subscribe if you're cool. It would be very cool if you did. I'll put a video up here that I think that you will enjoy if you liked this one. And I appreciate y'all being here. I love you so much, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye!